Hi guys, my name is Simon Doveton. I'm a designer here in South Africa for MRI. And your Whiteboard Wednesday today is going to be a snapshot of how we approach design and how we approach our projects from a design process perspective. I've divided it into 3 stages. I've named it Discover, Collide and Make. And the lines that you see over here doing this is essentially the ebb and flow of our thought process when it comes to the kind of things we do to get to solutions as quickly as possible. The lines that move upwards, we call that divergent thinking. So if you can imagine divergence, it's being open-minded and open to ideas and getting as much on the table as possible and as quickly as possible. And the lines going back down again are when we converge our thinking, which is when we turn the ideas into actionable points for us to take toward moving to a solution. So the first thing we usually do, because our application is quite large, we've split the different sections into projects. So let's say, for example, we are doing tenants. Now, tenants will be a self-contained project, and how we would start that is we would analyze our existing application. In my use context, it's MDA Property Manager. So what we would do there is we would look at our own application and we would start to build a list of assumptions of what we feel at MDA we can improve. So that's step 1, is to analyze our existing application and come up with the things that we think we can improve. But you know, there's a golden rule in design, and especially in UX design, that we're not our users, and we'll never get to the bottom of the problems that we're meant to be solving unless we speak to them. So that's exactly what we do. Step 2 is we go and speak to our users. We interview them, we ask them, how do you currently use the application? What frustrates you? What do you enjoy? What's the kind of context in which you use the application? What kind of pressure are you under? Just to get to know them, and more importantly, to get to know how they use the application. So we'll take notes as we interview them, and you'll notice that while I'm speaking here, this thinking is our divergent thinking. We were interviewing people, we're getting ideas, and we're open-minded to hearing everything that we possibly can. But it's around this point, after doing the interviews and our current app analysis, that we start to converge our design thinking. It starts to move down towards the second phase in what we do, which is what I call collide. And why I've called it collide is because all the information that we've gathered from our interviews and our testing and stuff with our users begin to collide into good ideas, bad ideas, average ideas. We try and get through the sea of ideas as fast as possible. So what we start with doing is we map out our process flow in the existing applications. How long does it take somebody to get from point A to point B to complete a particular business process? And we try to look for ways in which we can cut that in half. So if we can streamline that guy and we can quit that path over there and we can remove that, our user can essentially get from point A to point B much faster with the redesign of the application. After that, we then start to sketch our new ideas. These here are all our sketches. I've drawn a ruler and a pen / pencil to illustrate the sketches. And once again, you'll see that our thinking has returned to divergent. We start to open ourselves up to ideas again, because what we do to validate all our decision making is we take these sketches and these new process flows back to the clients that we spoke to. Sometimes the same clients, sometimes new clients. But we speak to them about the concepts that we're wanting to integrate into our new software, whether it'll help, whether we're on the right track or the wrong track. We're open to, again, feedback as to how the solutions that we've started to come up with may or may not be the right thing. As our thinking then starts to converge again, this is when we start turning these sketches into prototypes over here. And then we move towards this final stage, which is what I call make. But it's important to keep in mind that we never stop communicating throughout this entire process. At MRI, we want to facilitate a two-way form of line of communication, if you will, between us and our users. I'll repeat the golden rule of UX again, is that you are not your user. So you have to keep speaking to them all the time to make sure that you're doing the right thing. The final stage is split into 3 parts really. After we've gathered all the feedback that we've gotten from our interviews on the sketches and the prototypes, we then start to do the screen design, the UI, user interface design. Now on our user interface design, we use scaffolding that looks similar to this on screen. That just make sure that our layouts are consistent, that we design it in such a way that it makes it easy for the developers to see how a screen would respond nicely from down to a tablet and down to a mobile. We then turn these into clickable prototypes over there. And these prototypes are twofold. The first one is we again take it back to clients, and when we take the clickable screen design prototypes to them, we chat about execution. When we took the sketches to them, we chat more concept, high-level thinking. Whereas when we take these designed prototypes to them, we start speaking on more of a micro level as to the positioning of certain UI elements and whether or not an interface seems intuitive and that things are where the users would expect them to be. You'll notice here that when we take those prototypes to clients, our minds once again open up to feedback based off these clickable prototypes. And then as we go back to convergent thinking is when we decide which feedback to apply to our designs. And the final step in this 3-step design process is the build. This stage here, this is when our developers take the clickable prototypes and they build the system. Now, that would effectively conclude the design phase for this particular project for now. But the nature of software design is it's very cyclical and it actually never ends. So once it's been built and the software gets released into the wild, that's when the real fun starts. When the software goes into the wild is when we often get the most insightful feedback of all, real world application. People will give us feedback that it's not working for them for reasons X, Y, and Z, or it is working for them for reasons X, Y, and Z. But we never stop testing, and what will happen is if our design team has just finished a new section, aka tenants, like what I just took you through, when we reach the end over here, the section that we actually designed and built 3 months ago is up for review because it's been out in the wild for 3 months. We've gotten insightful feedback, and this whole process then starts again for that previous section, and vice versa for all our sections as we redesign our software from the ground up. That was your Whiteboard Wednesday for today. Thank you.